Hi there. I've brought my magical poof with me. This is sort of a furniture thing in my living room, but it's also a storage. And here I store my art project called Storythread, which I made in 2018 while battling a severe autistic burnout. The story goes that I became ill and I could not read and I could barely stand upright. So there was very little I could do. I was off work, of course, and I couldn't look at patterns, I couldn't read books, watching TV was a struggle, and me being me, I have to have something to do with my hands. So I picked up a crochet needle and some Icelandic wool, léttlopi, and started crocheting, what's it called, granny squares, and then I sat in my living room with Netflix going, with shows that you can listen to without watching them, which is ideal for knitting and crochet, of course, to have something to listen to. And I had been living a very, very active lifestyle with a high demand job at 2 places. So this was a very new experience for me, just being at home. And this is in 2018, and by 2020 I really couldn't feel sorry for people for having to stay home, you know, and not go to the pub or whatever because of COVID. Because, you know, these people are amateurs. I had been home for weeks on end, months on end, with very little to do and very, very low tolerance for interaction with anyone. I had like 5 minutes tolerance for talking to people, and any kind of activity would render me exhausted. So this is what I did. I sat in my sofa with the TV turned on, with some sounds, some stories that I could listen to. And then I had my crochet needle and some léttlopi wool. During this time, I felt, as time passed, that I was pulling my health to me through this thread. I felt that I was slowly recovering through doing this work, and I'm not the only one who says this. There are studies proving that crochet and knitting, sewing, etc. are actually beneficial for your health. But I felt very clearly that I was not only pulling this thread of yarn, but I was pulling sort of the umbilical cord to my ancestral mothers. I felt that my recovery was coming through the generations, and it was coming through the female bloodline. So my mind went racing a bit, and I wanted to honor strong women in the past, and because I felt I owed them a lot. And I started during that time. Before that time, I had been a knitter and crocheter for my whole life, since I was like 6, learning from my grandmother. But I had never written any patterns, or when I wanted to do something original, I would find a pattern in a magazine or wherever, and then maybe make some adjustments. But I needed to have something before me to follow. But at that point, I like to quote the magnificent Jane Fonda when she was speaking about her breakdown period in her life. And she said, "You don't break down, you break open." And I felt that very, very strongly, because something inside of me was just bubbling up. I felt sometimes like a popcorn machine, just ideas and thoughts and things were just popping out of some place within me that had been maybe neglected or that I didn't know that was there. So I started, seeing I am autistic and I'm a pattern thinker. I see patterns in everything. I see faces in my fingernails even. So I started taking the patterns in my environment and putting them into my craft. And with this crochet mania that hit me at that time, and the feeling that I was getting my health back through this generational umbilical cord, yarn, thread, whatever, I started to think about patterns to honor strong women. And the first one I made was this one. This is a square. It's meant to be a picnic blanket, and it takes its inspiration from an Icelandic novelist, the first woman, so to speak, that would publish novels, romantic novels. She lived in the countryside in the north of Iceland called Guðrún frá Lundi. Lundur was her farm, and she wrote books that the patriarchy said, this is no good, this is just about a woman making coffee. And a lot of the story, I read this actually when I was pregnant with my second child. I read the whole series. It's called Dala Líf or Valley Life, and it's a romantic love story, not a love triangle, but more like a love quadrangle or square, with people who love each other but can't have each other. There are rich people, there are poor farmers and workers. And in the story, what I found so beautiful is that they're always talking about making coffee. They are taking the coffee beans and burning them. They are grinding the burnt beans. They are making the coffee. They are serving the coffee, and they are eating cakes and cookies, traditional Icelandic baked goods with the coffee. And you follow the woman in the story when she milks the cow into the bucket, and she brings the milk in and she separates the cream from the rest, and then she always has to take the bucket out to the river to wash it, because otherwise it will turn sour. And at the time I was 35 when I was reading those books, and I really didn't know all the many chores a woman had to do just to make coffee. So I loved those books, and I started thinking about this story, and the center in this blanket is the four main characters. They revolve around each other, but they never reach each other. They just go in circles and follow each other, but they never quite get together. So there are two women and two men, and this is like sort of the vortex of the story. And then we have the next pattern is burning coffee beans. I don't know if you've seen raw coffee beans, but they are green. They are sort of like a moss green color. And here I have them turning from green to light brown, and maybe if they did the espresso, they would be very dark. So this is the burning of the coffee, the roasting of the coffee. Then we have I should show it this way. Then we have the story place, where the story takes place, which was a beautiful valley, imagined valley, but should be in the north of Iceland. And here we have green hills and the sky above. So this is the valley. Below that I made this is the cream and milk, and then washing the bucket in the river. So the white thing is the milk and cream, and this is the woman going out to the river to wash the bucket. And then we have red, which is of course just love. This is a love story. And the next chapter is ground coffee. Here she has been grinding the coffee. And we have hay work in the field, just green grass being cut and gathered. And then finally we have some coffee with milk. And after that, the blue sky and the 4 characters reappear at the end of the blanket, circling the whole story. So this blanket was called Guðrún frá Lundi, which is the woman who wrote the stories. And I made the blanket in a sort of a picnic blanket form. So you're supposed to sit on green grass and take coffee with you and some kleina, which is the Icelandic traditional baked goods, and have a romantic picnic in the nature. So that was the first one. And it was like any creation, it was a struggle because I had a mental picture and I didn't know exactly how it would turn out. Figuring out how to turn the corners within each pattern, and doing some free crochet, you know, just randomly free stitches, as well as more established patterns. And I absolutely second the notion that if your creation doesn't feel like crap at one point in the progress, then you're not being creative. So this felt like absolute crap for several times, but I like it. It's Guðrún frá Lundi, it's a picnic blanket. Then by this time I was immersed in the idea that I had to find more strong women, more pioneer women, and honor them. So I thought about a woman who lived around 1900, maybe, I think, and she was what's called a foreman on a boat. Her name was Þuríður, and she goes by the name Þuríður Formaður, which is Þuríður the foreman. And being a foreman entails having your own crew on a small boat for fishing. So Þuríður, she was a very strong woman, and she was a foreman of a boat, which was very, very rare. Just that a woman was rowing was one thing. It was the women were on the shore, you know, making food for the sailors. But Þuríður, she went out on her own boat, and she was the captain or the foreman of her team. So I wanted to crochet Þuríður's office, sort of. And I began, this is the reverse, I began making stones for the beach. And in Iceland, in that part of the country, the beaches are black. So this is the beach where Þuríður, I was imagining, you know, waking up really, really early, you know, maybe 5 or 6 in the morning, 4, 5, 6, heading down to the beach, getting in your boat, rowing out to fish, while directing a crew of men. It must have taken a lot of courage just to walk down this beach and see the ocean before you. And I think this portrayal of the ocean on the south coast, she was from Stokkseyri or Eyrarbakki on the south coast, and the waves can be very, very harsh there. But mine is quite quiet, and you have the ocean, and then you have the horizon, and that turns to the sky. And having mentioned the feeling that your work is crap halfway through, you know, I liked the stone thing, and then I went on with only free crochet. There's, you can see it in the white pattern here that you're dipping down. I'm dipping down into the rows before, and just to make it straight at the edges was a challenge, but I kept on going. And this was also quite comfortable because while I was crocheting, it was on top of me and felt warm. And in my previous life, I have been a formaður, not a foreman on a boat, but I have been a president of the Association of Academics in Iceland, and leading 10,000 members in wage agreements and stuff. And it was a very masculine workplace, and still is. And I was then 35, 40, and I can really relate to sort of the loneliness and the walking out into the harsh elements to meet the guys and talk to the men. So I adore Þuríður. I'll see if I can make this maybe more visible. It's actually a quite beautiful blanket, and I plan to hang it on a wall somewhere when I've finished making up my own knitting studio. I'm currently in my son's music room. So that was Guðrún and Þuríður. And another quite sort of traditional ish granny square circle thing. As I said, I felt that I was pulling health through the generations and strength to my core, and I was very aware of the bloodline. So I kept thinking about, sort of the colors of the umbilical cord. You have the blue veins, and you have the red arteries, and then you have the white in between. And this reflects in also in the platelets in the blood, that you have the white platelets and you have the red platelets, or not platelets, it's the what do you call it? Red blood cells, white blood cells, and then the platelets. And I started thinking about sort of the function of the coagulation, the togetherness in our blood tissue. And this one is called platelets. And I was traveling in the Westfjords, and I went into a local shop there that sold wool, and they didn't have like every color, but I liked these, and they sort of toned together. There are some purples and some teal, some pink. This would be my palette if it had some yellows in it, but it's halfway there. And I just made a sort of organized chaos of the color combinations. There are very few just the same, and so the colors, there's a lot of color play here. So this was just a more traditional project, but it still is circular / hexagonal, so it's a bit of a more complicated composition than the regular square. And this is actually a pattern on Ravelry called Flögur. And it came at the same time as I was crocheting. I started out of the blue writing poems, and they all were connected in some way with the work I was doing. And me being, I say often that I'm a word pervert, which is just something you are when you're autistic, loving words, loving the meaning of words, the possibilities of the language. And so the project of the blankets to honor women became a double project, because I also started writing poetry in Icelandic. Sorry about that. But the woven project is called Söguþráður, which is story thread. And the written project was called Vaðmál. These are two word games in Icelandic. And Vaðmál is the old weaving the weaving that women made in the olden days, which was exported and sold. That's called vaðmál, made like loom weaving. Vaður is loom, and mál is either measurement or language. So I wrote woven language, and I crocheted a story thread. What's next? As well as going through autistic burnout. First, it was just a burnout. Very soon, I discovered that I'm autistic, and after that, started reading up more on the autistic burnout as compared to regular burnout. So I first fell ill and got my diagnosis, and then I found out also that I was entering menopause, or well into it probably. And this is very common with women on the spectrum, that we collapse during menopause. It's a known fact that kids going through puberty have a hard time coping with their autistic traits, and it's absolutely the same with women going through menopause, because there's so much noise inside us and so much turmoil going on that we just can't cope with the external turmoil and noise. So you lose your capacity to mask and appear neurotypical. You get into communication problems because you don't have the sort of flexibility to read the meaning behind what the neurotypical is saying. The differences in communication between autistics and neurotypicals is, in a nutshell, it's that we say things and there's no hidden meaning behind it. And the neurotypical starts looking, what do you mean by that? Is this some kind of sign language, But it's not. We are just saying, I'm tired. I'm not saying you're boring or I don't like you. I'm tired. But when the neurotypical speaks, there's often a hidden meaning behind, and we ignore reading that. So that's a very, very basic grounds for misunderstanding, which then feeds into the burnout also. Sorry about the info dump. But I found when I started getting hot flashes, and I found them very hilariously funny. I would be waking up in the morning and there's like this warm ball just exploding and rising up to my face, and like a radiator being turned on suddenly. Funny when you're lying in your bed in the morning, not funny when you're in the shops or doing things and you're wearing your coat and you're just sweating. And it did not help with the rest of my health battle. So I got help with that, but at the same time I thought, maybe there's something pretty and nice about menopause. Maybe it's a beautiful transitioning. So I made a blanket about menopause. It's called alternating hot and cold. Of course, hot flashes and cold flashes. And this is, I had started buying my wool in a shop that didn't sell léttloppi. And this is the unspun plötuloppi, knit on a smaller needle. But I chose 4 cold colors and 4 hot colors, and I made squares of absolutely random composition, and the change of color is usually within the line, not at the ends. So this is both the sequence of the colors and how they change is random, but it gets a very coherent pattern as it progresses. So this is, and the poem that came with this one is translatable. it says the middle-aged woman is like the fall. It's bountiful. She's bountiful and giving, and hot and cold in between. So that was that. This is the pretty side of menopause. And then the time came to honor the women close to me. The foremothers are, of course, my mother, grandmother, they are in the whole thing. But my sister, who is 1 year older than me, and we are sort of like Irish twins, I guess, there's 15 months between us. And we had a blanket when we were living as kids in Sweden. We had this Icelandic traditional factory woven throw that we would use when we went into the living room in the morning to listen to a children's story on radio. This was on Saturdays and Sundays, I guess. And there's a picture of us sitting in the living room, both under the blanket, heads close together, and we have this throw on. And I wanted to, this is in the 70s, so these are the colors from our specimen of this traditional blanket. And I wanted to find a way to crochet this pattern, which was, of course, woven in a machine. And I did a lot of trial and error samples, but ended up, this is also available on Ravelry, I ended up just making a sort of a net or a base where there is just first you have a chain of just chain stitches, and then the rows are one double crochet or half double crochet depending on where you are, and then one chain, one double crochet, chain one, double crochet, chain one. So it's sort of a net. And then I took 2 threads of this. If you worked with unspun, you know how fragile it is. If you pull slowly, it just tears apart. So I would thread these double held threads in a pattern through the network to create the fabric. So this is called Sisters or Sister, and is sort of a homage to the childhood with my sister. So that's another one. And I was also at the time, this is over months of course, and I'm slowly improving, and I get my autism diagnosis, as I said, soon after I became ill. And shortly after that, I was asked to participate in a documentary film, which is called Seeing the Unseen, and you can find it on Vimeo on demand and rent it. Highly recommended. It's a very good, and it ages well. It came out in 2019, where 17 women, me included, tell our stories. And I know that they recorded like an hour or 2 hours with each of us, but then they cooked it down into 90-minute long documentary. And I wanted to make something to memorize this project. It was a great, it was actually a turning point in autistic culture in Iceland, because after the airing of this film, a lot of people, grown-ups, both women and men also, sought diagnosis. And so we have, in the years since 2019, we have grown almost exponentially, like everywhere else in the world where people are more aware of internalized autism. So this was a sort of a milestone in our story in Iceland, this movie. And I made this blanket, which is called, I think it's called Seeing the Unseen. I haven't written this one because it's a bit complicated. It is a square peg, it's a round peg in a square hole. If you're autistic, you know that we often describe ourselves as either a square peg in a round hole or vice versa. So the circles are us. We have different colors. There are no two the same. And here you see the beautiful variety in Léttlopi. That there's one of the girls in the film, she's very, very pink, always wears pink, and so on. One of them is wearing this beautiful rusty colored sweater in the movie, or maybe this one, I think. So I tried to choose something for each of us, and then our stories, some are young, some are older, and no two. If the story says also that if you know one autistic, you know one autistic, so there are no identical circles. And this was a bit of a headache because also the choice of color is that autism it's a spectrum and there are a lot of colors, and we add color to society, to mankind. So I portray the society as a bit gray, and then we are a splash of color inside that. And then I was stuck with 17 squares. And how do you organize them into a square blanket? I was placing them on my living room floor and trying to work this out. And beautifully and symbolically, it fit perfectly once I put us diagonal to the line. I turned it 45 degrees, I guess. So we are often out of alignment with the world. And I was just so glad that the alignment that got us to fit in a square was crooked. And so this is a very, very symbolic piece for me, and it's also quite beautiful. I'm gonna do this maneuver again. So you have these, where's the upside here? Yeah. You have 17 squares that fit perfectly into a blanket when you put them askew. And that's the name of this blanket. It's Áskjön, which means askew, not square. And I also like it because normal, the word normal, originally just means square, fair and square. And it's a term from masonry or carpentry. It's still in the Freemason culture that you have to be a square man. And in relation to human nature, being in the middle of the bell curve means that you're square. We are not in the middle of the bell curve, we are here and here. So it's so perfect that we are not square. Then I turned my sights to society at large and sort of female revolutions. And the most recent ones at the time were Me Too. This is the blanket for Me Too, and it's small because it was horribly complicated to make, and I will never do it again. I wanted to create a chain a chain made of circles because the female form is circle. And I went to all the yarn stores in Reykjavik to look for every color of wool I could find other than white and black. And the circles are, no, sorry, that's another one. But these are, we have white here also, but no black. And so there are, you know, endless, all the colors I could find, because we are all very different. But if you pull on one of us, you pull on the whole fabric. So this is symbolic for standing together, being in union, and being strong together. And I guess it's a bit of a tensegrity pattern also, that being so fragile in the form, it's like chainmail. It becomes very strong as a pattern. Although I had to crochet each sort of like circle without connecting it. I made lots of them. They looked like little pigtails lying in a basket. And then I had to sew them all together. First arrange them so that the ends were hidden and the joins were hidden also. And then I was thinking, you know, what do I do with this? Once I had the chainmail, then I was also making these squares from the same colors. And this is, of course, the patriarchy. The patriarchy is square, fair, and square. So in my mind, I started thinking about, you know, what if we push the patriarchy out of the corners? What if we take up space and push the patriarchy to the corner? And so that became the frame for the blanket. There's a gray, again, if we weren't there, the society would be very, very colorless. So there are gray and brown frames, and then the patriarchy is hanging on by a thread in the corner. I hope it doesn't push to the center again, although it's trying its very best at the moment. The last one is also a recent revolution at the time, which was free the nipple. And yeah, you can see those are all nipples. This is the one I took when I went to look for all the colors apart from black and white. And we have one operated boob that has a pink ribbon around it. If you can look closer, there's the pink ribbon here around. I was at first intending to make, you know, all sizes and shapes, but that was a bit too chaotic. So I just went with different colors. And breasts are, of course, warm and soft, nurturing. So it's symbolic to be able to wrap yourself in a blanket of breasts. This is the healing that I got from my foremothers, the mother's milk. And this is the free the nipple blanket. And I think it's quite funny that if you lie down in the sofa with your blanket, it sort of fits like a bra at some level. But yeah, this is it. Yes. So this is the story thread. Söguþráður, literally thread with stories. And this was the entrance, the gateway drug to further designing. Since this time, I have made over 30 patterns, published many of them, most of them, some of them in collaboration with yarn shops or producers. And I fell ill again into 2023 and had much the same experience, that once I I again lost my balance and I lost the ability to read. And I had a huge brain fog, difficulty finding words, very low tolerance for interaction with people. This time around, it ended up being that I had progressed from burnout into ME, the ME/CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome thing. So I have been again housebound for the most part for the last year and a half. And I knit a lot. And when I was falling ill, my head was exploding again like a popcorn machine. And I was trying to be rational and take it slowly, but I have been to end again with Jane Fonda. I was not broken down, I was broken open again. So I don't see this stopping anytime soon. And I am going to make more videos about my creations. I have been working since 2020. I got my autism diagnosis in 2018, 2019 I was in this documentary. 2020 I was hired by the Icelandic Autistic Society to be an educator and create educational material for their web and to give lectures in schools and workplaces and so on, and burned out again. I was going to say that speaking with hundreds of autistic people during the last 4 years or so, I came to notice that we are all highly creative, and the creativity is usually multi-leveled. So like with this project of mine, you have the crochet and the poetry, and behind the crochet there's a story, you know. So very often you have a writer who's also a singer or something. There's always a story behind everything, and that's the case with all of my designs. This one is called Spring Night Rain. It comes from a lyric to a song that I sing with my choir. So this is the rain in the spring night, and so on. So we are taking patterns through the eyes and developing it into clothes. So I want to tell you the stories behind all my designs. They are not just, you know, I want to make a sweater that's pink and orange. There's always a story, and there's more videos coming with those stories. Thank you for listening.